All right. Hello. Welcome to Saturday Accountability. Week one, day one of April. We are in a new business month. And some of you guys may have seen this past week that last month, slingshot to 95%, and it was officially official. Um, thank you. Thank you. And I'm not going to talk much about this, but I think there's a lot to be said for taking a moment to celebrate when you do something big. I said this to Maura this week. I said, you know what, for me, it didn't feel like a big deal because it just felt really natural. It wasn't, I didn't like push for it or grind for it. Um, and it just kind of happened, right? As a result of the business that I have been building over the past year and couple months. But what I noticed is that if any one of you texted me and said, I just slingshot to 95%, I just slingshot to anything, I just promote in any way, it would be a really big deal, right? It would be cause for huge celebration. So I had a couple of moments where I just kind of like let myself feel into not only did I slingshot to 95%. My first two, 80 and 85%, I did not slingshot. I was on the long course, if you will, the standard route there. But also what a lot of people don't know, so most of you guys actually do know, but what other people might not know is that in February when I slingshot to 95%, not only is that a short month, I only worked 9 days out of the month. So I slingshot in 9 days, like not even 1 month. Like I slingshot in 9 days, and that's something that I get to celebrate, and I hope that each of you are celebrating both your small wins and your big wins because I say this, and then I also need to I need somebody like Maura who reflected it back to me. If we don't know how to or get good at celebrating our small wins, we're not going to even notice the big ones, right? And so um, I really just want to give you guys a moment, an invite where there's always an invitation to think about like whether it's this month, last month, what you've done so far this year, where are you winning, even if it's really, really small. Like I showed up to Saturday accountability every week, right? Like I showed up to conference. That's not a small win. That's actually a very massive win because a lot of people not including the people that couldn't make it because of weather and flights and things like that. But there are people who want to go, but they let life and excuses and things get in the way. And so there are there are all things. So I want to see in the chat before we dive into what we're talking about today. I want to see in the chat, what are you celebrating? Small win, big win, personal, professional, like wherever it is. I want you to share something in the chat that you are celebrating so we can celebrate alongside with you. And while those are coming in, um, we'll kind of mosey on in. Today will probably be like I will after we're done with content. I may even keep the recording going, but I'll stick around until about 9:30. I know normally we try to wrap at 9:15, but I'll be around in case there's more questions. Um, Okay, Valerie is going to dial 100 dials daily per week. She got on the accountability sheet as well and is going to be on the call. I love this for you, Valerie. You are so well positioned and primed to really skyrocket in April, and I'm excited to see it. Um, yes, feeling confident about recruiting. That is absolutely worth celebrating. And has been going to two networking meetings per week in real life. I love that. Janine worked a job fair, and your birthday's this week. Amazing! Happy birthday! And 8 interviews on the books. Okay, not small wins, big wins. I love these. All right, Kat is here. She put together a tracker and shared with her upline and downline. This is a business, not a hobby. That mindset shift in and of itself is worth celebrating. Maura is celebrating her most profitable month in almost a year, and it was all from Warm Market, y'all. If you want to talk about Warm Market, Maura's your girl. Carrying the momentum into April. And yes, and James is absolutely on fire. Um, Yes, Kat, big congratulations to making it to Saturday accountability. Yep, you've had it on the calendar and now is the time to dive in. Valerie, I love it. You can celebrate your goals too. I think it's perfect. I think it's absolutely perfect. Okay. You guys can keep those coming in. I'm gonna get started. So after um after it was announced that I slingshot to 95%, as I'm sure you guys can imagine, there was so much love, so much support. I got text messages, group me messages, Facebook messages, and there were a number of people who either requested some time to pick my brain, or just asked for advice. Like, what advice would you give? And y'all know me. I'm big on protecting energy, and like I barely give my team time to pick my brain, let alone opening up those energetic floodgates. And so I very politely, right, very like if you are one of those people, please know that it is with nothing but love. If I say if I say no, that I'm not available for brain picking sessions, and mainly because I know that this space exists. So I redirected a number of people to this space. I don't know that many of them are here, but if you want to pick my brain, this is an incredible space to do that, right? But if I gave even 15 minutes to everybody who asked, that would be essentially an entire workday for me. And so I also give you permission to protect your energy and say yes to the things that align and say no to the things that don't. But I figured that's a fantastic call to have of what advice would I give and what would I say to somebody who isn't at 95% yet, or maybe you just want to slingshot to 85%, or you're at 90, or maybe you're on an AO run, like wherever you are. I think the advice is always the same, right? Um, yeah, Carolina, it's pretty gold. And it's not always comfortable to be like, yeah, no, but yeah, no. And I think just having an opportunity, right, and having, a place, or a way that you can, and maybe it is like you do a live or you do one thing, or, finding a way that you can still be supportive, but while also protecting your energy. So I want to talk to you guys about what it took, about what advice I would give somebody, if anybody came to me, and wanted to get to where I am, and I wanted to share with you kind of my first 14 months and kind of what they look like, and they kind of align with the advice that I would have. So I don't have pretty slides. I do have a pretty chart. I'm going to share in a second, but I'm just going to kind of go through some thoughts that I put together, in terms of if you are not where you want to be, like where can you focus and what advice am I going to give? And it's not tactical. And no, I'm not going to tell you what kind of leads I'm working. But if anybody wants to ask me what kind of leads I am working, feel free to unmute and I will spotlight you and we'll have a conversation live here. We'll do a little hot seat coaching if anybody wants to know what kind of leads I'm working. Okay, so let's dive in. What advice would I give for somebody who is like wants to up their business in any way? First and foremost, Jim talks about this a lot too. You have to prioritize the habits and your discipline more than the rank in the title, right? So I did not hit 95%. I did not do whatever I've done. Nobody's ever done, well, maybe some people. But if we're not prioritizing the habits and the discipline that create the business and the person that just very naturally and with ease hit the results, then we risk losing it. We risk burning out. We risk having a pretty severe backlash to that success. Drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever pushed or grinded or prioritized the promotion, the rank, the title, the goal, the thing over the habits and the discipline, and then life hit you really hard right after. I would assume that all of you in some way, shape, or form have probably felt that, given the world that we live in, that very much so prioritizes and emphasizes the grind and the hustle, right? There is a time and place for that, you guys. I'm not anti-hustle, I'm not anti-grind, but there's a time and a place for it. So along with that, here's what I want you guys to ask yourself. So that's number 1, is prioritize your habits and your discipline. And part 2 of that, it's kind of a continuation of that, is getting really curious. So if you are not where you want to be, what is the one thing that you need to master in April? Not this year, not whenever it happens, but in April, what is the one thing that you need to master? Where is your bottleneck? Where, right? We have all of these different skill sets and all of these things, different things that we need to get good at. I've had a lot of conversations this week with my team about mastering your schedule. If you are not in control of your schedule, if you don't know when you're going to work, if you don't have the resources or the support to protect that time, that is your one thing, right? Carolee, yes, absolutely. Yep, mastering your schedule. Mastering consistency. I could have a whole contest on that, the concept of mastering consistency. Yes. Um, yes. So what is that one thing? Drop it in the chat. What is your one thing? My guess is if you guys are here right now, you're not where you want to be. There is more. There is more out there for you, right? So everybody gets to identify their one thing that they are going to master in April. Drop it in the chat. We'll call it. I feel like we had a call recently on consistency, or at least I went on a really long and passionate rant about consistency. Okay, keep those coming in. So, and the way that I would think about it, you guys, is if you think about the version of you who generates the results that you want and with ease, not in a grind or in a hustle or in a sacrificing more than we're willing to sacrifice or in a burnout mode, right? But like the version of you that slingshots just because your business is doing that because that's the flow you've gotten into and those are the habits you've created and that's the team that you've built. What does that version of you do on a daily basis? How do they think? How do they talk to themselves? How do they show up? How do they eat? How do they prioritize? How do they exercise? When do they exercise? Like, where are they surrounding themselves? Where are they working from? Maybe they're not working at home. Maybe they're working at a coffee shop. Maybe they're renting an office. Do they have an assistant? Do they have an admin? Do they have a team of 3 agents or do they have a team of 10 agents? Right. So think of the version of you. And I'm not saying like if you're at 85%, I'm not asking you to think about AO version of you. If you're at 85%, what is 90% of what is 90% version of you? What are they doing differently? These small little tweaks. And once you understand and you can start to see those gaps of like, oh, well, I'm pretty sure like AO version of me is waking up at least an hour before my daughter gets up and not just like waking up when my daughter wakes up because that's what I love my slow mornings, right? And so identifying what those gaps are and being able to start to fill them. If your focus is there, yes, have the goals, yes, have the targets, but if your focus is on filling those gaps, you are going to win. If you know what to do and you don't do it, that's self-betrayal. 100%. We're doing it all the time. We're all self-sabotaging. We all know at least one thing, if not 10 things that we could be doing for ourselves or for our business that would move the needle forward and we're not doing it. That is self-sabotage. Absolutely. Okay. Number 3, do not let life get in the way. Life will get in the way. Life will happen. And the ability for you, same thing, right? You guys, if you had a 9 to 5 and you would get fired if you didn't show up for work, even if you were sad, even if you were frustrated, even if the kids were sick, even if the world around you was crushing, in most cases, we would still show up for our job because we know if we don't show up for that job, we're going to get fired and we're not going to have money and then everything is going to get worse. And here's what I'll say. When life does happen, and if it does get in the way, you have to stay in the driver's seat. You have to keep driving the car. And what I mean by that is you have to be intentional. So if you're going to take a step back this month, March, I stepped back from my business, not because, I mean, mentally I didn't, but my main source of childcare is traveling for 6 weeks. And I had literally one day a week, 6 hours a week to myself for my business and everything else I need to get done without a 3-year-old crawling all over me. One day. right? And so I was very intentional about the fact that this month was going to look different. My results were going to look different, and I'm owning that. I'm not feeling a victim to it. I'm not feeling, I definitely learned a lot about how I'm going to do things differently next year because that's going to happen every single year because my parents are snowbirds. But I don't feel any kind of way and I'm not blaming my circumstances. And here's the analogy I will give to this, you guys, while you're driving, say you're driving, picture yourself driving. If you can't picture it, same girl, same. But if you can, you can visualize something or just think about driving a car and there's traffic ahead of you and you start seeing signs that there's a detour, right? What do? Do you throw your car into neutral and hop in the passenger seat and just let the cars behind you push your car through the traffic jam? No, you keep driving. You get creative. You might find another way. You might be looking at the map for another way, but you're not getting out of your car and having a picnic. Now, I will say there was one traffic jam where I did do that because we were at a standstill for like 4 hours because the road was complete. I did get out of my car, turned my car off, and I had a picnic. But that is not typical for most detours, right? When things happen, there is always a way. Is it going to look the same? Are we going to create the same results that we do when we are 100% everything is perfect? How many of you regularly have perfect months? Like nothing in life happens. The kids don't get sick. There aren't any unexpected bills. There's no wrenches. Literally like drop a two if every single month there's something. I'm looking at all of you. Everybody's like, yes. So why are we still waiting for this perfect month? Why are we still thinking that that's when things are going to change? Y'all, shit's going to happen every single month, every single week, sometimes every single day. Are you creating the business and the life and the habits and the discipline and the routine that's going to give you the opportunity to shift and detour and pause and get creative and work around that and still get the job done? I love being delusional. Absolutely. We can be, but like not in that way. Like, let's not be delusional in the fact that we're going to pretend like nothing bad happens. Absolutely expect everything to go right. I love that. But we also have to be prepared, right? We have to be prepared for that. Um, so I'm just going to share something real quick with you. We're already 5 minutes over. I'll hang out. We'll do some Q&A, but I'm going to share because when I was getting started, and many times, this is the information that I wish I could see about somebody's business. I'm going to share with you, but I have to figure out how to share it because where is it? Don't worry. I got this, you guys. I've got this. I minimized it because I minimized everything and then it went away and then you can't share a minimized window. I worked for Apple for 14 years. I can figure out how to share a window. Whew. Y'all. Okay. This is my personally issued business. Personal. I'm not talking team, but you can see that there's some team influences in here, right? So I started in January of 2025. This was $228. All right, that was my first app. Cute. Okay. Lots of warm market in February. Then my warm market dropped out. I hit month two, so 85% was my second and third month of business. And then what is this? My fifth and sixth month of business, or fourth and fifth month of business. I finished 90. And then I slingshot to 95 over here. Conference boost. I feel like this is pretty typical. November, I actually traveled for 2 weeks. Here's what I want to show you guys. Do you know how many months of these I didn't have something massive in my life, like a massive explosion? And I don't mean in a good way. Mora's guess is 0. I'm gonna give September, this month right here. There was some residual, there was some gunk, but there was nothing new. There were no new bombs dropped. But you guys literally, I had surgery in January. I was in the ICU in February. The day I got home from Ignite, I had to pack up and leave for 6 weeks to keep myself and my daughter safe. Then I had a legal battle I had there's some other family stuff in here that I'm not going to share because it's not mine to share. I had my 40th birthday, which was actually emotionally not fun. Um, there were other travel, there were other family things, there were other moments where I had to drop everything. You guys, this was not an easy year for me, but I showed up. And like, I don't know how else to say for people who want a result and they're not there yet. You have to stick with it because if it any this was what my business looked like showing up consistently. And if any of these moments I would have backed off. This moment I didn't do a lot of personal because I hired 7 people. So that month two of 90 had a lot to do with team. Um, but if any one of these months I would have dipped out and not written any business, I would have been back in square one. Not really, right? Because we take all of our experiences and all of our lessons with us. But if you've ever dipped out of your business for a month or two, you know what it feels like. It's harder to get started. It is way harder to get started once you start and pulled back. So, like, how do you remind yourself when things are getting hard that it's going to be even harder if we don't stay in the momentum and we don't stay in the consistency and we're not showing up for our business every single day? Right. So Slingshot, I had 3 writers in February, but 11,800 of the issued business of the 13,000 we did was on my own pen. So I'm building a team, absolutely, but like so much of this is still just based on my own personal production. So I'm gonna keep the recording going. Obviously, if you gotta go, normally we only do 15 minutes here. So if you gotta go, go. I'm gonna switch over to gallery of view, and this is the time. If you guys do have questions, if there's anything else you want me to speak more into, um, I'm all yours. What questions do you guys have? Nothing? Cool. So I'm gonna go hang out, watch Peppa Pig with my daughter.
I got a question, Marcy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Janine. I'm directing Annie Davis. I didn't get to see you at conference, but I saw you from a distance and was like sending good vibes to you. So thank you for this
Thank you.
call. I love it. So I guess I have a question about. I know I heard you on Jim's call say about you worked like 9 or 10 days that month, and previously I think when we were in the accountability call, I had heard you say something about like trying that out and that you had bought like a bunch of leads all at once in the beginning of the month, and I was wondering like what your thoughts were on doing that, and also if it had anything to do with like your personal cycles. Like I personally like work with like my moon cycle, and so like when it's my moon time I do not want to work, and this past month that did not like that didn't I didn't plan it well enough to like not work during that time or to take that
Yeah.
time off. So I was just curious about like how you thought about that planning that month and just some insights on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 100% a result of cycle syncing. Both my two biggest influences are my cycle and my human design. So cycle syncing looks different, very different for different types of energy types. There's a little bit of influence there. That's just the fact that I'm a single mom of a 3-year-old, but cycle syncing is my main influence. And the one thing this has come up because I've been talking about it a lot. The one thing I will say is I wouldn't recommend getting um, kind of creative and experimenting there until you are really confident. I don't know like where you are in your business, how you're feeling with everything, but until you feel really, really confident that that you're through all of the learning curves, right? That like you are comfortable with the leads, whatever kind of leads that you are working, you can set the appointments, you can get them to show up, you can close them, and you're really, really happy with all of your ratios. We have to be through the learning curve before we start to get creative because otherwise we have too many pieces that we don't know what's not working, right? And it's almost like that cycle syncing and finding that flow is a new learning curve, right? So I started at the beginning of the year, really kind of locking down. Um, and so basically all I did is I condensed the monthly workload into 9-ish days, 7 to 9 days. And so the same amount of leads that I was buying over the course of the month, I bought all at one time. And so I just consolidated everything. And I will tell you that I'm buying the same amount of leads as I was for the 6 months prior, but I have been closing about 3 times as much business. And I think for me, it's because I'm not trying to work on the days that I'm trying to push through, like today I'm on day 3 of my cycle. I'm not pushing through anything today, right? And so, but I also gave myself permission to go really hard on the days that I had a lot of energy. And so, what it looks like, and this has been the biggest challenge has been I have a daughter and I need somebody to take care of her. If I'm going to work 5 12-hour days, I need more support. So those are some of the puzzle pieces. But if you're already working with your moon cycle, if you're already kind of like aligned with that, and you feel like you are through all of the learning curves and you're really confident that when you work the system you get the results that you want, and you can kind of reverse engineer of, I want to make X number of dollars, this is how many leads or how many dials I need to make. Then I would say start experimenting with that. And the human design does kind of have a factor into that. This is something I'm going to be sharing more about, and maybe creating like a little digital product or something for, because those two things are very, very important, because cycle syncing, if you're a non-sacral, is going to look very different than cycle syncing if you're a sacral being. So but yes, you are spot on. You are 100. It's entirely cycle syncing for sure. Did that answer your question? Is there anything else that?
That pretty much answered my question. I am not through all of the learning curves, but at the same time, if I don't cycle sync at least partially for my moon time week, then
Yes.
everything gets totally thrown off. So I will keep that in mind. I'm definitely still working through a bunch of learning curves here.
Yeah, I would say, in the beginning, then, and it sounds like you have awareness, right? And I think awareness is number one, especially with your cycle, right? And so, for, the first 7-ish days, right? However long your cycle is, and then a couple of days after, still touch your business every day. And maybe it's dialing older leads, maybe it's showing up to accountability, maybe it's heavier on um, studying agent guides, or doing trainings, or catching up on things, watching replays. Like, touch your business every single day, but maybe you touch it in a different way, right? And then during ovulation, right, those 5 to 7 days before, after ovulation, go ham, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
would say just don't, um like you said, like, allow it to influence you to a point, but recognize that, like, getting through those learning curves still has to be that top. Like, I went a good year, technically 11 months, of like getting through all of that, figuring it all out before I started to get kind of, more creative, and messing around with that. But it also sounds like you have some awareness, and some people kind of start from zero, where they're like not aware of where they are in their cycle and how the different 4 phases are impacting your mood and your energy. But yeah, and I would just see what you can do. Like, maybe there is one week that you are just booking, more appointments. But still, just don't, I wouldn't say, I'd say don't go more than 2 or 3 days without touching your business.
Thank
Just
you. That's very
find the
helpful.
way. Yeah, find the way to touch it and set yourself up. So maybe it's practicing your scripts, so that on the days that you are dialing and running appointments, you've got those scripts memorized, or you're, whatever it is that's going to support you to have even more momentum and get through those learning curves when you are dialing and running appointments.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Of course.
I did have one other question, and it's just about
Yeah.
the videos for this call. They were being uploaded to YouTube. Are you still uploading them to YouTube, or are they going
I'm
somewhere else?
behind. No, no, I'm just behind. I need to go
Okay, I just
through.
wanted to check. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I don't know that I've even uploaded many even this year. So yes, I have all of the recordings. I just need to like plop them into YouTube. So thank you for that, because it's been like on my list. And it just hasn't been priority. But that is absolutely something I can do in this next week, while I'm not doing as much dialing until my parents get back home. So I'll up that. I'll up that on the priority list for sure. All right. Anything else? Anybody else? All right. happy day one, happy April, happy Saturday. So excited for a new month and a new season in so many ways. Won't go into that, but I'm here if y'all need me. You guys know how to, if you're not in the group me, I think everybody in here has been here before, but I'll drop the Oh, I have to go back and read. I don't think I read all your comments while I was talking. Let me get this group me. We have a group me chat, which is not for like conversation as much as it is just for like sharing resources. So Janine, I also like I can update in there once I get some things updated. Let me just get this link if you're not in here already. That is our group me. You can join if it will send. I love you all. Happy April, and I'll see you guys next week.